Calvin, please. Eli's burning up. I cradle my son against my chest, his small body radiating heat like a furnace. The kitchen is dim, save for the harsh glow of the microwave clock. 11:37 p.m. Calvin should have been home hours ago. The front door slams. Heavy footsteps. The briefcase hits the counter with a thud that makes me flinch. Dinner better be ready. Calvin snaps, his voice rough with irritation. I turn, Eli whimpering softly in my arms. Didn't you get my messages? Eli's sick. He needs us. Calvin scoffs, loosening his tie. He's your problem, not mine. I've got a presentation tomorrow. The words hit me like a slap. I stare at my husband, searching for any hint of the man I married. His eyes are cold, distant. When did he become this stranger? My name is Marin, and tonight, I realize my marriage is as sick as my child. I need you to run to the pharmacy, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. We're out of children's Tylenol. Calvin yanks open the fridge, grabbing a beer. Can it wait until morning? I'm beat. No, it can't wait. I snap, surprising myself with the edge in my voice. Your son has a fever of 103. He needs medicine now. Calvin slams the fridge shut, turning to face me. His eyes narrow. Don't take that tone with me. I work my ass off to provide for this family. And I don't. I challenge, shifting Eli to my hip. I'm on call 24/7, Calvin. When was the last time you changed a diaper, or made dinner, or… That's your job, he interrupts, pointing his beer at me. I didn't marry you to listen to your nagging. The words hang in the air, heavy and poisonous. I feel something inside me crack, a hairline fracture spreading through years of compromise and silence. Then why did you marry me? I ask quietly. Calvin takes a long swig of beer, his eyes never leaving mine. Because you were hot and made me look good. Why else? The truth, finally laid bare. I should feel devastated, but all I feel is a strange sense of clarity, like waking from a long, confusing dream. I'll go to the pharmacy myself, I say, my voice steady. Watch Eli for 10 minutes. Calvin's face twists with annoyance. I told you I have work to do. 10 minutes, Calvin. That's all I'm asking. He sighs dramatically, setting down his beer.
Fine.
Give him here. I hesitate, then gently transfer Eli to Calvin's arms. My son whimpers, reaching for me. Sho, baby, I soothe. Mommy will be right back. I grab my purse and keys, pausing at the door to look back. Calvin is already lowering Eli onto the couch, reaching for his laptop. The cool night air hits me as I step outside, and I take a deep breath. For the first time in years, I feel awake, alert. The neighborhood is quiet, most windows dark. But in my chest, something is stirring. A spark of defiance, of possibility. I slide into the car, gripping the steering wheel. My wedding ring catches the streetlight, and I stare at it for a long moment. Then I twist it off, dropping it into the cup holder with a soft clink. As I pull out of the driveway, my mind races. I think of Eli, of the life I want for him. A life full of love and support, not coldness and neglect. I think of my own dreams, long buried under the weight of Calvin's expectations. The pharmacy sign glows in the distance. But suddenly, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go home. I want freedom. For myself and for Eli. My foot eases off the gas pedal as I approach an intersection. Left leads to the pharmacy. Right leads out of town, towards my father's house. He's always said I could come to him if I needed help. The turn signal clicks softly as I make my choice. As I accelerate down the empty road, I feel a weight lifting from my shoulders. This isn't the end. It's a beginning. I glance in the rearview mirror, watching the lights of my old life fade into the distance. My hands are steady on the wheel. For the first time in years, I'm driving towards something, not running away.
Eli needs me.
And I need to be the mother, the woman I know I can be. Calvin's words echo in my mind, fuel for the fire growing inside me. He thought I was just arm candy, a trophy to make him look good. I'll show him just how wrong he was. This is my story now, and I'm taking back the pen. The sun-drenched campus lawn stretches before me, a sea of possibility. I'm 22 again, clutching my art portfolio and trying not to trip in my new heels. That's when I see him. Calvin strides across the quad, all confidence and easy charm. His smile lights up his face as he catches my eye, and suddenly I'm rooted to the spot. "You look lost," he says, coming to a stop in front of me. "Need a guide?" I laugh, feeling my cheeks flush. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's been looking for you," he replies with a wink. The memory fades, replaced by the harsh fluorescent light of my father's kitchen. I blink, disoriented. Eli sleeps peacefully in the next room, his fever finally broken. It's been 3 days since I left Calvin, and the memories keep ambushing me. "You okay, sweetheart?" My dad, Lyle, sets a steaming mug of coffee in front of me. I nod, wrapping my hands around the warmth. Just remembering. Lyle's eyes crinkle with concern. "The good times?" "The beginning," I say softly. "When I thought Calvin hung the moon." My father settles into the chair across from me. He was charming, I'll give him that. Had us all fooled for a while. I take a sip of coffee, letting the bitterness ground me in the present. I keep trying to pinpoint when it changed, when the charm became something else. Lyle reaches across the table, covering my hand with his.
It was gradual, Marin.
Like a frog in boiling water. By the time you realized how bad things had gotten, you were in too deep. I nod, fighting back tears. "I feel so stupid, Dad. How did I not see it?" "You saw what you wanted to see," he says gently. "What he wanted you to see. That's not your fault." A soft cry from the guest room interrupts us. I'm on my feet in an instant, maternal instinct overriding everything else. Eli is sitting up in bed, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy?" "I'm here, baby," I soothe, gathering him into my arms. He snuggles against me, and I breathe in his sweet, sleep-warm scent. "Where's Daddy?" he mumbles. The question pierces my heart. "Daddy's at home, sweetheart. We're staying with Grandpa for a little while." Eli pulls back, his blue eyes, so like Calvin's, searching my face. "Are you and Daddy fighting?" I swallow hard, choosing my words carefully. "Mommy and Daddy are taking some time apart. But we both love you very, very much. That will never change." He seems to accept this, burrowing back against my chest. I rock him gently, my mind drifting to another memory. Calvin and I, dancing at our wedding reception. His arms around me, his lips brushing my ear as he whispers, "You've made me the happiest man alive." I believed him then, with every fiber of my being. How could I have known that happiest for Calvin meant most convenient? That is, love came with conditions I'd spend years trying to meet? Eli's breathing evens out, and I lay him back down, tucking the covers around him. As I turn to leave, I catch sight of myself in the mirror above the dresser. I barely recognize the woman staring back at me. She looks tired, worn down, but there's something else in her eyes. A spark of determination I haven't seen in years. Back in the kitchen, Lyle is waiting with a fresh cup of coffee and a sympathetic smile. "How's our little man?" Confused, I sigh, sinking back into my chair. He asked about Calvin. Lyle nods, his expression grave. "That's to be expected.
Kids are resilient, though."
He'll adjust." "I hope so," I murmur. I want to do right by him, Dad. I don't want him growing up thinking this is what love looks like." "You're doing the right thing, Marin," Lyle says firmly, breaking the cycle. "It takes courage." I manage a small smile. I don't feel very courageous.
"But you are," he insists.
"You're reclaiming your life, your independence. That's no small feat." As if on cue, my phone buzzes. It's an email from the graphic design firm I applied to last week. With trembling fingers, I open it. "Dad." I breathe, hardly daring to believe it. "They want to interview me." Lyle's face breaks into a wide grin. "That's wonderful, sweetheart." "When?" "Next Tuesday," I say, scanning the email. It's a remote position, so the interview will be over video call. For the first time in days, I feel a flutter of excitement in my chest. This could be it, My chance to rebuild, to create a life for Eli and me that isn't dependent on Calvin's whims. As I start making plans for the interview, another memory surfaces. Calvin sneering at my art supplies. Cute hobby, he'd said. But it's time to grow up, Marin. Focus on what really matters. I'd packed away my sketchbooks that day, burying my dreams along with them.
But now,
I look at my dad, at the proud smile on his face, and I make a silent vow. No more burying myself. No more shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. It's time to reclaim the woman I used to be, the one who believed in her talents, who dreamed big, the one Calvin tried to erase. Watch out, world. Marin 2.0 is coming. The doorbell chimes, its cheerful tone at odds with the knot in my stomach. I smooth my dress, take a deep breath, and plaster on a smile. Ready? I ask Eli, who's fidgeting with his bow tie. He nods solemnly. Ready, Mommy. I open the door, and there's Calvin, looking annoyingly handsome in a crisp suit. His eyes narrow as they sweep over me. You're wearing that? He asks, his tone dripping with disapproval. I resist the urge to roll my eyes. Hello to you too, Calvin. Yes, I'm wearing this. Let's go, we're already late. The drive to his parents' house is tense, filled with Calvin's pointed comments about my appearance, Eli's behavior, and my attitude. By the time we pull into the driveway, I'm gritting my teeth so hard my jaw aches. Irene opens the door before we even reach it, her smile tight and brittle. There you are. We were beginning to worry. Sorry, Mom, Calvin says, leaning in to kiss her cheek. Marin took forever to get ready. I bite back a retort, focusing instead on helping Eli out of his car seat. Irene's eyes rake over me, her disapproval palpable. Well, come in, she says, ushering us inside. Everyone's waiting. The dining room is a tableau of forced civility. Calvin's father, Arthur, nods gruffly from the head of the table. Faye, Calvin's sister, offers me a small smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Dinner is a minefield of backhanded compliments and thinly veiled criticisms, most directed at me. Irene leads the charge, her words sharp as knives. So, Marin, she says, delicately dabbing her mouth with a napkin, have you given any thought to going back to work? It must be so unfulfilling, being just a housewife. I feel Calvin stiffen beside me. Mom, he warns, but Irene waves him off. I'm just saying, dear. A woman needs purpose beyond changing diapers and making dinner. I take a sip of wine, buying time. Actually, Irene, I've been thinking about getting back into graphic design. I've kept up with industry trends and… Oh, that's nice, Irene interrupts, her tone dismissive. A little hobby to keep you busy. But really, Calvin needs a wife who can support his career. Networking is so important these days. I feel something snap inside me. Years of biting my tongue, of shrinking myself to fit into their mold, come rushing to the surface. You know what, Irene? I say, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling up. I think what Calvin really needs is to grow up and take responsibility for his own life. And maybe, just maybe, appreciate the wife he has instead of treating her like a servant. The table falls silent. Calvin's face is a mask of shock and fury. Irene looks like she's been slapped. It's Faye who breaks the tension, letting out a surprised laugh. Well, it's about time someone said it. Faye! Irene hisses, but her daughter ignores her.
No, Mom. Marin's right.
We've all been tiptoeing around Calvin's ego for years. It's exhausting. I shoot Faye a grateful look, feeling a spark of unexpected kinship. Calvin pushes back from the table, his chair scraping loudly. This is ridiculous. Marin, we're leaving.
Now.
No, I say quietly, surprising even myself. I'm not done eating. And neither is Eli. Our eyes lock in a silent battle of wills. For the first time, I see a flicker of uncertainty in Calvin's gaze. Fine, he spits out. I'll be in the car. As he storms out, I turn back to my plate, hands shaking slightly. The room is thick with tension. Well, Arthur says gruffly, speaking for the first time all evening. Pass the potatoes, would you? The rest of the meal passes in awkward silence. As we're clearing the table, Faye corners me in the kitchen. "Hey," she says softly. "I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you for standing up to them." I blink, surprised. "Thanks, Faye. I didn't think anyone in this family was on my side." She glances around, making sure we're alone. "Listen, Marin, there's something you should know about Calvin.
He's not.
He's not who you think he is." My heart races. "What do you mean?" Faye opens her mouth to respond, but Irene's sharp voice cuts through the air.
Faye.
"Come help me with dessert." Faye squeezes my arm. "We'll talk later, okay? Just be careful." As I watch her go, my mind whirls. What does Faye know? And how will it change everything? The drive home is silent, Calvin's anger radiating off him in waves. Eli has fallen asleep in the back seat, blissfully unaware of the tension. As we pull into our driveway, Calvin finally speaks. "You embarrassed me tonight." I turn to face him, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "No, Calvin. You embarrassed yourself." I get out of the car, gently lifting Eli into my arms. As I walk towards the house, I hear Calvin call out behind me. "This isn't over, Marin." I pause at the door, looking back at him. In the dim porch light, I see not the charming man I fell in love with, but a stranger, petty, controlling, and suddenly very small. "You're right," I say softly. "It's just beginning." I close the door behind me, locking it with a decisive click. As I carry Eli to his room, I feel something unfurling in my chest. It feels a lot like hope. The soft glow of my laptop screen illuminates the kitchen as I hunch over it, fingers flying across the keyboard. It's 2 a.m., and the house is silent except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator. This is my time, stolen moments while Calvin and Eli sleep, where I can breathe, think, and plan. I'm updating my portfolio, polishing old projects and creating new ones. The familiar rush of creativity courses through me, a sensation I'd almost forgotten. It feels like coming home to myself. A notification pops up, another job listing that matches my skills. I click on it, heart racing as I read the description. Remote work, flexible hours, decent pay. It's perfect. Before I can talk myself out of it, I hit apply. As my application whooshes off into the digital ether, I lean back, exhaling slowly. This is it. The first concrete step towards independence. A floorboard creaks upstairs and I freeze. Footsteps.
Calvin.
I quickly close my laptop, shoving it into a drawer just as he appears in the doorway, squinting against the light. "What are you doing up?" he grumbles, voice thick with sleep. "Couldn't sleep." I lie smoothly. "Just getting some water." Calvin grunts, clearly uninterested. "Come back to bed. I have an early meeting." I nod, following him upstairs. As I slide under the covers, my mind races with possibilities. For the first time in years, I feel a flicker of hope. The next morning, I'm making Eli's lunch when my phone buzzes. It's an email from the company I applied to last night. They want to schedule an interview. Excitement bubbles up inside me, but I force it down. I can't let Calvin suspect anything. Not yet. "Mommy, can I have apple slices?" Eli asks, tugging at my sleeve. I smile down at him, ruffling his hair. "Of course, sweetie. Let's cut them together." As we work side by side, I study my son's face. He looks so much like Calvin, the same blue eyes, the same dimpled smile. But there's a gentleness in Eli that his father lacks. A softness I'm determined to protect. "Eli, honey," I say carefully. "You know Mommy loves you very much, right?" He nods, mouth full of apple. "And no matter what happens, that will never change. You understand." Eli swallows, looking up at me with those big eyes. "Are you and Daddy getting a divorce?" The question catches me off guard. "Why do you ask that, sweetie?" He shrugs, suddenly very interested in his apple slice. "Tommy at school said his parents got a divorce. He said they fought a lot, like you and Daddy do." My heart clenches. I kneel down, taking Eli's small hands in mine. "I don't know what's going to happen, Eli. But I promise you, whatever happens, you will always be loved and taken care of." "Okay." He nods solemnly, then throws his arms around my neck. I hold him tight, blinking back tears. Later that day, while Eli's at preschool, I sneak into Calvin's home office. I hate myself for doing this, but Faye's warning echoes in my mind. I need to know what I'm dealing with. I boot up his computer, grateful he never changes his password. As I scroll through his emails, my stomach drops. There are messages from women, lots of women. Flirtatious exchanges, hotel reservations, explicit photos. But it's the financial records that really make me sick. Calvin's been siphoning money into a secret account for years. Thousands of dollars hidden away. I sit back, stunned. All those times he complained about money being tight, about not being able to afford new clothes for Eli or repairs for the house. All lies. As I'm processing this, I hear the front door open. Calvin's home early. Panic surges through me. I quickly close everything, shutting down the computer. I'm halfway to the door when Calvin appears in the doorway. "What are you doing in here?" he asks, eyes narrowing suspiciously. I force a smile. "Just tidying up." "You left some papers out." Calvin stares at me for a long moment, and I'm sure he can hear my heart pounding. Finally, he nods.
Fine.
"But stay out of my office from now on." I slip past him, retreating to the safety of the kitchen. As I lean against the counter, trying to steady my breathing, my phone buzzes. It's an email confirming my interview for tomorrow. In that moment, everything crystallizes. I can't stay here. Not with a man who's been lying to me, cheating on me, stealing from our family. I need to get out, for my sake and for Eli's. I take a deep breath, straightening my shoulders. It's time to put my plan into action. Tomorrow I'll ace that interview. I'll secure our future. And then, when the time is right, Eli and I will walk out that door and never look back. Calvin may think he holds all the cards, but he's about to learn just how wrong he is. I am not the meek, submissive wife he thinks I am. I am a force to be reckoned with. And I'm done playing by his rules. The suitcase sits on the bed, a silent testament to my resolve. I fold Eli's favorite dinosaur pajamas, tucking them carefully between layers of clothes. My hands shake slightly, but my mind is clear. It's time. Eli's fever broke yesterday, and with it, the last of my hesitation. I secured the job, a remote position with a promising design firm. Now, all that's left is to leave. I hear the front door open and close. Calvin's home early. My heart races as I zip the suitcase closed and slide it under the bed. "Marin?" Calvin's voice echoes from downstairs. "Where are you?" I take a deep breath, steeling myself. "Up here," I call back, trying to keep my voice steady. Calvin appears in the doorway, loosening his tie. His eyes narrow as he takes in the scene, the slightly disheveled room, my flushed face. "What's going on?" he asks, suspicion lacing his tone. I force a smile. "Just doing some spring cleaning." "How is work?" He grunts, clearly uninterested.
Fine.
"Is dinner ready?" "I'll start it now," I say, slipping past him. As I prepare dinner, my mind races. I need to time this perfectly. Calvin has a business trip tomorrow. That's my window. I've already called my dad, Lyle. He's expecting us. Eli chatters happily through dinner, oblivious to the tension. Calvin barely looks up from his phone. It's a typical evening in our household, but tonight, everything feels different. Charged, like the air before a storm. After tucking Eli in, I retreat to the guest room where I've been sleeping lately. I pull out my phone, texting Faye. "It's happening tomorrow. Thank you for everything." Her reply comes quickly. "Stay safe. Call if you need anything." I lay awake for hours, listening to the sounds of the house. Calvin snoring, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, counting down the minutes until our escape. Morning comes too slowly and too quickly all at once. I go through the motions of our normal routine, making breakfast, packing Calvin's suitcase, kissing him goodbye. As soon as his car disappears around the corner, I spring into action. "Eli, sweetie," I say, kneeling down to his level. "We're going on a little trip to Grandpa's house. Doesn't that sound fun?" His eyes light up. "Can I bring Rex?" he asks, clutching his stuffed T-Rex. "Of course," I smile, fighting back tears. Rex's family, too. We're halfway to my dad's house when my phone starts buzzing incessantly.
Calvin.
I silence it, gripping the steering wheel tighter. Mommy, Eli's voice pipes up from the back seat. Is Daddy coming to Grandpa's too? I swallow hard.
No, sweetie.
It's just going to be us for a while. But why? He asks, his lower lip trembling. I take a deep breath. Sometimes, Eli, grown-ups need time apart to figure things out. But I promise you, both Daddy and I love you very much. That will never change. He seems to accept this, turning his attention back to Rex. I blink back tears, focusing on the road ahead. My dad is waiting on the porch when we pull up. His face creases with concern as he helps us unload the car. You okay, sweetheart? He asks softly. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. Eli runs to him, shouting, Grandpa. And just like that, the tension breaks. As we settle into my childhood home, I feel a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I can breathe freely. My phone buzzes again, a voicemail from Calvin. With shaking hands, I press play. Marin, where the hell are you? His voice is a mixture of anger and panic. I came home early and you're gone. You can't just take my son like this. Call me back immediately, or I swear to God, I'll. I delete the message before he can finish his threat. My dad appears in the doorway, concern etched on his face. That was him, wasn't it? He asks. I nod, sinking onto the bed. He's furious, Dad. What if he tries to take Eli? Dad sits beside me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. We won't let that happen. I've already called my lawyer friend. We'll get everything sorted out, I promise. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow through the windows, I watch Eli playing in the backyard. He's laughing, carefree, as he chases fireflies with my dad. My phone buzzes again, another call from Calvin. This time, I answer. Marin, I swear to God. Stop, I interrupt, my voice stronger than I feel. It's over, Calvin. I know about the affairs, the secret bank account. I'm done being your doormat. There's a long pause. When Calvin speaks again, his voice is low, dangerous. You'll regret this, Marin. I'll make sure of it. I hang up, my hands shaking but my resolve firm. I know the road ahead won't be easy. Calvin won't let us go without a fight. But as I watch my son's joyful face, I know it's worth it. This is just the beginning of our new life. And for the first time in years, I'm not afraid of what tomorrow might bring. The sharp knock on the door shatters the peaceful afternoon. I freeze, my hands hovering over my laptop keyboard. Eli looks up from his coloring book, eyes wide. Mommy, he whispers, fear creeping into his voice. I force a smile. It's okay, sweetie. Why don't you go play in your room for a bit? As soon as Eli's out of sight, I meet my dad's gaze. He nods grimly, moving towards the door. I take a deep breath, steeling myself. The door swings open, revealing Calvin. He's a far cry from the polished executive I've known for years. His shirt is rumpled, his hair disheveled. Dark circles rim his bloodshot eyes. Where's she? He demands, trying to push past my dad. Calvin, my dad's voice is firm. You need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down, Calvin shouts. She took my son. I step into view, my heart pounding but my voice steady. I'm right here, Calvin. His eyes lock onto me, a mixture of relief and fury. Marin, he says, his tone softening slightly. Come on, this is ridiculous. Let's go home and talk about this. I shake my head. There's nothing to talk about. It's over. Calvin's face darkens. You can't do this. You can't just leave. What about our life? Our family? What family? I retort, feeling years of pent-up frustration bubbling to the surface. The one you ignored, the one you cheated on. He flinches, as if I'd slapped him. You don't understand. I've been under so much pressure at work. Save it, I interrupt. I know about the secret bank account, Calvin. I know about the affairs. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? For a moment, he looks genuinely shocked. Then his expression hardens. You went through my things? You had no right. I had every right. I snap. I'm your wife. Or I was. And more importantly, I'm Eli's mother. I have a responsibility to protect him from your lies and manipulation. Calvin's eyes narrow. Is that what this is about?
Money?
Fine, I'll give you access to the account. We can work this out. I laugh, the sound bitter, even to my own ears. This isn't about money, Calvin. It's about respect. It's about building a life with someone who sees me as a partner, not a possession. He takes a step forward, but my dad moves to block him. You're making a mistake, Marin, Calvin says, his voice low and dangerous. I'll fight you on this. I'll take Eli. You know I have the resources to make your life hell. I feel a flicker of fear, but I push it down. Go ahead and try, I say, meeting his gaze. But you should know, I'm not the same woman you married. I have a job now. A good one. I can support myself and Eli without your money. Calvin's eyes widen in disbelief. You're bluffing. I smile, feeling a surge of pride. I'm not. I started last week as a remote graphic designer. Turns out I'm pretty good at it. Better than you ever gave me credit for. For the first time, I see a crack in Calvin's confident facade. He looks
Lost. Confused.
like he's seeing me for the first time. You can't do this, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. I already have. I reply softly. It's over, Calvin. Go home. He stands there for a long moment, his fists clenching and unclenching at his sides. I can almost see the wheels turning in his head, searching for a way to regain control. Finally, he speaks, his voice cold. This isn't over. I'll be back with my lawyer. You'll regret this, Marin. As he turns to leave, I call out. No, Calvin. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. The door slams behind him. I let out a shaky breath, feeling my knees go weak. My dad wraps an arm around my shoulders, steadying me. You did good, sweetheart, he murmurs. I'm so proud of you. I nod, tears pricking at my eyes. He'll be back, won't he? Probably, Dad sighs. But we'll be ready. You're not alone in this. A small voice pipes up from a hallway. Mommy? I turn to see Eli peeking around the corner, his stuffed dinosaur clutched tightly to his chest. My heart aches at the fear in his eyes. Kneeling down, I open my arms. He runs to me, burying his face in my neck. It's okay, baby. I soothe, running my hand through his hair. Everything's going to be okay. As I hold my son, I feel a strange mix of emotions. Fear of the battle ahead. Sadness for the life I'm leaving behind. But underneath it all, a growing sense of strength and possibility. Calvin may have resources and connections, but I have something he can't buy or manipulate. The fierce love of a mother protecting her child. And I'm just beginning to realize how powerful that can be. I meet my dad's gaze over Eli's head. He nods, a silent promise of support. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. For the first time in years, I feel truly alive. The road ahead won't be easy, but it's mine to choose. And I'm ready to fight for the future Eli and I deserve. The courthouse looms before me, its stone facade cold and imposing. I take a deep breath, smoothing down my blouse. This is it, the final showdown. You ready? My dad asks, giving my shoulder a reassuring squeeze. I nod, my jaw set. As I'll ever be. We climb the steps, my heels clicking against the marble. Inside, our lawyer, Sarah, waits for us. Her smile is confident, but I can see the tension in her eyes. Remember, she says in a low voice, stay calm, no matter what Calvin throws at us. We have the evidence on our side. I nod, thinking of the documents tucked safely in Sarah's briefcase. Bank statements, phone records, hotel receipts, a paper trail of Calvin's betrayal. As we enter the courtroom, I spot Calvin and his lawyer at the opposite table. Calvin looks immaculate in his tailored suit, but there's a wildness in his eyes that I've never seen before. He looks desperate. The judge enters and we all rise. As the proceedings begin, I force myself to focus on Sarah's calm, measured voice as she presents our case. She outlines Calvin's infidelity, his financial deceptions, his emotional neglect of Eli and me. I risk a glance at Calvin. His face is a mask of fury, his knuckles white as he grips the edge of the table. Then it's Calvin's turn. His lawyer paints a picture of me as an unstable, vindictive woman who tore apart a happy family out of spite. He claims I'm unfit to care for Eli, that I've poisoned him against his father. Your Honor, Calvin's lawyer says, his voice dripping with false concern, Mrs. Reeves has a history of emotional instability. We have witnesses who can attest to her erratic behavior. My heart races. What witnesses? Who would? The courtroom doors open, and Irene sweeps in, her face a picture of righteous indignation. Of course. Calvin's mother, come to seal my fate. Irene takes the stand, her eyes never leaving mine as she speaks. Marin has always been difficult, she says, her voice quavering with what I'm sure she thinks is convincing emotion. Moody, unpredictable. I've often feared for my grandson's well-being in her care. I feel a surge of anger, but Sarah's hand on my arm keeps me grounded. We expected this. We're prepared. When it's our turn for cross-examination, Sarah approaches Irene with a predatory smile. Mrs. Reeves, she says sweetly, can you recall the exact instances of this erratic behavior you claim to have witnessed? Irene falters, her confident facade cracking. Well, there were many times. Specific instances, please, Sarah presses. Irene fumbles, offering vague generalities that Sarah easily picks apart. By the time she steps down, Irene looks shaken, and I feel a glimmer of hope. Next, it's my turn to take the stand. I meet Calvin's gaze as I walk past him. For a moment, I see a flicker of the man I fell in love with, vulnerable, uncertain. But it's quickly replaced by a cold, calculating stare. I take a deep breath and begin my testimony. I speak of the years of emotional neglect, of feeling invisible in my own home. I describe finding evidence of Calvin's affairs, of the secret bank account he'd hidden from me. And how did these discoveries make you feel, Mrs. Reeves? Sarah asks gently. I swallow hard, fighting back tears. Betrayed. Worthless. Like everything I'd built my life on was a lie. I see Calvin shift uncomfortably in his seat. And what about your son, Eli? Sarah continues. How has Mr. Reeves' behavior affected him? This is the moment I've been dreading. I close my eyes briefly, steeling myself. Eli used to cry himself to sleep, asking why Daddy never wanted to play with him. He thought it was his fault that Calvin was always angry or absent. A soft gasp ripples through the courtroom. I risk a glance at Calvin. He's staring at the table, his face ashen. No further questions, Your Honor, Sarah says, returning to her seat. Calvin's lawyer stands for cross-examination, but I can see the defeat in his eyes. He asks a few half-hearted questions, trying to paint me as exaggerating or misinterpreting events. But my resolve is unshakable. As I step down from the stand, I feel a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time, I've told my story, our story, without fear or shame. The judge calls a recess to review the evidence. As we file out of the courtroom, I feel Calvin's eyes on me. I turn to meet his gaze. For a long moment, we just stare at each other. I see a myriad of emotions flicker across his face, anger, confusion, and finally, a dawning realization. He opens his mouth as if to speak, then closes it again. I give him a small, sad smile before turning away. Whatever he has to say, it's too late. I've found my strength, my voice. And I'm never going back to the silence. As I join my dad and Sarah in the hallway, I feel a surge of hope. The battle isn't over, but for the first time, I truly believe I can win. Not just the court case, but my freedom, my self-respect, and a future where Eli and I can thrive. The courthouse clock ticks steadily, counting down the moments until the judge's decision. But I'm no longer afraid of what it might bring. Whatever happens, I know I've already won the most important battle, the one within myself. The morning sun streams through the curtains, painting the room in a warm glow. I stretch, savoring the quiet moment before Eli wakes. It's been 6 months since the court ruling, 6 months of building our new life. I pad downstairs, the hardwood cool beneath my feet. Dad's already in the kitchen, brewing coffee. He smiles as I enter, sliding a mug towards me. Big day today, he says softly. I nod, wrapping my hands around the warm ceramic. I can't believe it's finally happening. We're moving out today, into a small house I've rented on the outskirts of town. It's nothing fancy, but it's ours, a fresh start for Eli and me. As if summoned by my thoughts, I hear the patter of little feet on the stairs. Eli bursts into the kitchen, his hair a wild mess, eyes bright with excitement. "Is it time to go to our new house, Mommy?" he asks, bouncing on his toes. I scoop him up, planting a kiss on his cheek. "Almost, buddy. We've got to eat breakfast and finish packing first." The morning passes in a whirlwind of activity. Dad helps us load the last of our belongings into the moving truck while I do a final sweep of the house. In my old room, I pause, running my hand along the windowsill where I used to sit and dream of a different life. "You okay, sweetheart?" Dad's voice startles me from my reverie. I turn, smiling.
Yeah.
Just remembering. He nods, understanding in his eyes. "You've come a long way, Marin. I'm so proud of you." Tears prick at my eyes as I hug him fiercely.
Thank you, Dad.
For everything. As we're about to leave, a car pulls up. My heart skips a beat as I recognize it. Calvin. "What's he doing here?" Dad mutters, moving protectively in front of me. I take a deep breath. "It's okay. I've got this." Calvin steps out of the car, looking uncertain. He's lost weight, the circles under his eyes more pronounced. For a moment, I feel a pang of sympathy. "Marin," he says, his voice hoarse. I needed to see you before you left." I cross my arms, waiting. Calvin runs a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it makes my chest ache. "I'm sorry," he says finally, "for everything. I know it's too late, but I needed you to know that." I study him, searching for any hint of manipulation. But all I see is genuine remorse. "Thank you," I say softly. "That means a lot." Calvin nods, his eyes darting to the house. "Is Eli?" On cue, Eli appears in the doorway. His eyes light up when he sees Calvin. "Daddy." Calvin kneels, opening his arms. Eli hesitates, looking to me for permission. I nod, and he runs to his father. As I watch them embrace, I feel a weight lifting from my shoulders. This is what I wanted, for Eli to have a relationship with his father, free from the toxicity of our failed marriage. Calvin stands, Eli in his arms. "I've been going to therapy," he says, meeting my gaze. "Working on myself. I want to be a better father to Eli. A better person." I smile, genuinely happy for him. "That's great, Calvin." "Really?" He sets Eli down, ruffling his hair. "You be good for your mom, okay, buddy? I'll see you next weekend." As Calvin drives away, I feel a sense of closure. The anger and hurt that have defined our relationship for so long are fading, replaced by a cautious hope for a new kind of family dynamic. Dad clears his throat. "Ready to go?" I nod, taking Eli's hand. We climb into the truck, Eli chattering excitedly about his new room. As we pull away from the curb, I watch my childhood home recede in the rearview mirror. The drive to our new house is short, but it feels momentous. Each mile is a step further from my old life, closer to the future I've fought so hard for. As we pull up to the little blue house, my heart swells. It's not much, but it's ours. A blank canvas for new memories, new dreams. Eli races up the front walk, impatient to explore. "Dad," and I follow more slowly, arms laden with boxes. Inside, the house is filled with afternoon sunlight. The rooms are small but cozy, already starting to feel like home. As I set down a box in the living room, my gaze falls on my easel in the corner. A half-finished painting sits on it, my first commission for my new freelance business. Dad appears in the doorway, a knowing smile on his face. "So, what do you think?" I turn in a slow circle, taking it all in. The toys scattered on the floor, the family photos waiting to be hung, the smell of fresh paint and new beginnings. "It's perfect," I say, my voice thick with emotion. Later, after Dad has left and Eli is tucked into his new bed, I sit on the front porch. The night is warm, crickets chirping in the distance. I think about the long road that led me here, the pain, the fear, the moments of doubt. But I also think about the strength I've discovered, the support I've found in unexpected places. I think about Eli, sleeping peacefully, free from the tension that used to fill our home. As I look up at the stars, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in years, I'm excited to face it. I'm not just surviving anymore, I'm thriving. Tomorrow, I'll wake up in my new home, ready to tackle whatever challenges come my way. I'll paint, I'll laugh with Eli, I'll build the life I've always dreamed of. Because now I know the truth. I am strong enough. I am brave enough. And this is just the beginning of our story.